Welcome into the Alabama CPA podcast, another special edition coming to you on Thursday, January the 22nd. And this is a very special podcast, maybe the most special podcast that we will ever do. Jeannine Birmingham has joined us. We've had the unique opportunity to see our bill pass the legislature. And what a thrill.
Such a happy day.
You were there with me, and we got to share in the joy. Senator Dan Roberts kind of carried it on the Senate floor, and so now it goes to the governor, and they will review the bill and hopefully sign it with no problems, and that's what we anticipate. But until then, it's sitting on the governor's desk, right?
Yeah, doesn't it officially go over sometime this evening, and maybe we get it signed and enacted next week?
That is the hope.
Yes.
So
all right, fingers are crossed.
We will be staying tuned, but we are very happy to deliver that news to everyone out there that gets it, and for upcoming CPAs, especially seniors in college that need to know. We're just very happy, and it really did get fast tracked, and we have a lot of people to thank for that, and we will do that at the appropriate time. But we've lined up really an awesome. We're very fortunate to be joined by Lexy Kessler here from the AICPA, Jeannine, and I'll let you do more of an introduction. We also have our board chair, Paul Perry, in here with us as well, and we're all just kind of brimming with excitement. So, Jeannine, I'm going to let you sort of take over this podcast because this is an awesome day.
Well, Rob, thank you so much, and I'm so excited to have Lexy Kessler with us. It's just a joy to always have the chair of the AICPA and the association come join AICPA events, and we'll talk about some of those events.
Absolutely.
It just so happened that we passed a bill today, and we're able to get a photograph with the governor for the bill signing. And I know Paul is sitting to my left. He is the master podcaster, and he says he's not going to add any input, but I guess he will at some point. So I'm going to count on that, Paul. It was also wonderful to have you be a part of the bill signing as well. But Lexy, your travels have taken you all over the country at this point as chair of the AICPA and the association. But before we get into that, I'd love for you just to tell the audience a little bit about who you are and what you currently do, both in your real role and then as your number one volunteer role, and maybe just a piece of your story as well.
Sure. And first off, though, I really want to thank you guys for your hospitality. It has been just an incredible experience, and we're still only into day one, so I can't wait to see what tomorrow brings. But so my journey actually, it started, I've been with pretty much the same firm. It's merged for my entire career. And we were Aronson, we merged into Aprio 3 years ago. And my role just has kind of evolved over time. When I think back about it, it's amazing to me how it just kind of kept on going, and here we are. But, led a practice area for the firm, and it was an amazing experience because there wasn't like a road, a path for me for it. We had to try to I just kind of banged my head against the wall a couple times, to figure it out. But and then went on to leadership with leading that practice area of the board. And I have a different path than most people do within the profession, is that I got involved with the AICPA before the state society. And I think that is unique.
It is.
And that was really from a relationship I had with Bill Balhoff, who was an incoming chair. And he got me connected into the profession. And it's just, I've never looked back. It's been an incredible experience. If you guys out there listening aren't doing it, I strongly encourage you to get involved in your state societies or the AICPA. You give, but you get so much more back than you can ever explain. And not to mention, just meet amazing people from across the country, which has just been, and when you go to different states and you meet different people and you hear their stories, you have a better understanding of their perspectives whenever there's a conversation about something. So we were involved with different things around the pipeline, right? And so just having an understanding of perspectives is very helpful. So I'm very fortunate. Aprio has supported this along the way for me, which I'm incredibly grateful to Richard Kopelman, our managing partner, for this. I did have to get firm blessing before they put me on the slate for chair. And his response, and asking would the firm support me in this role was 1,000%. He didn't even hesitate. So I'm very grateful for that. So I've transitioned a lot of my management responsibilities just so I can devote time to this, which has been great because I can just really focus on that. Still get to pop back into APRI though. So it's a great balance right now.
Well, I had the pleasure of meeting you actually in one of these very important volunteer roles, and that was the National Pipeline Advisory Group. And we're going to talk a little bit about one of the reasons that you are here, which is a student event that we have going on upstairs as we record this podcast. But you told the students something about your time commitment. You get asked to serve. Paul gets asked to serve on a lot of AICPA committees as well, and you think it's this amount of time,
right.
And it ends up being stretched to a big commitment, especially for some of these efforts that are huge and they shape the future of the profession. So, NPAG, as we acronymed our group, because our profession is famous for the acronyms, was an incredible experience. And to your point, we met a lot of people from across the country. We had a lot of people participate. They were not just the volunteers of the committee, but people that provided research and certain intel that maybe our group did not have. That was one of the highlights of my career, actually. And I feel like I learned so much more from everybody on the group than I was able to contribute. But share a little bit about NPAG and how NPAG really led you into the next steps with AICPA leadership.
Yeah, first of all, I completely echo your comments. It was an unbelievable experience. It was a lot more time than we thought, but we figured it out, And what was amazing is that, the goal was to figure out how we grow the pipeline, a lot of different opinions when we came into that room. And almost like a polarization a little bit, I think, within our profession on the topic. Like everybody kept going to the 120 versus 150, right? And I think we learned so many leadership lessons along the way, of which was listening and including people and hearing their thoughts and perspectives on this. Because I know personally, well, maybe this is the right answer. Well, maybe it's that, because you'd hear a different perspective. And as we went along, though, there was such a camaraderie that came to the front of this. And that by the time we got to that council meeting to be getting a standing ovation from when we first started, I thought really spoke to the listening and people being heard part of it. And now I have 22 friends that I consider very, it's a great bonding experience professionally with everybody. I think you and I are very fortunate to have been included on that. But for preparing me for this role was just the nuances and complexity of our profession. I had no idea. And it's great to be able to come into this role understanding that landscape, because then I think you have the ability, it got me up to speed faster, I should say. And so I feel like I've been able to be a little bit more effective in talking about where our profession is going. But what a day to be able to be here with you, especially having served on NPAG together.
I mean, it's kind of crazy,
moment.
Right?
Yes.
So Rob doesn't have a microphone right now. It's probably killing him. But he told me... He told me when I said, all right, here is the date of our board meeting, and Lexy will be with us, and she was chair of NPAG. He said, Jeannine, I'm going to do everything possible to make sure that our bill is across the finish line. And I had my doubts, and I'm usually the glass is at a half or 3/4 full kind of girl.
Right.
And I had my doubts, but we did a lot of work behind the scenes before session started last week. Had a lot of key players. Carrie Underwood, CPA, was on the podcast yesterday. He was our champion in the House and helped us with this bill, really in both bodies. And I'm going to let Paul chime in here too with a question. But to have you here on the day that we passed the bill, and to be a part of Governor Kay Ivey signing our bill and with our group picture was just, for me, huge.
It's like the icing on the cake, isn't it?
Icing on the cake. I can't wait to hear other colleagues of mine say, she did what? You had her. How did you do that? And it was really just the luck to have you here and the work behind the scenes and getting our bill passed.
A lot of hard work that made it happen. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
But to be a part of NPAG and part of the journey and the discussion of how and this is just one way, but how do we increase opportunities for students to become a CPA,
Absolutely.
to study accounting, to think about CPA, and then actually achieve CPA. And this is a big win for all of us who
Agreed.
go through this process. And we're about halfway there, I think, with states. So such a joy to have you be a part of the bill signing today with Governor Kay Ivey. But I guess, Paul, I have a question for you, which is as you think about this bill and the future, how do you and your firm, how will that impact your recruiting process? How are you all beginning to think about students that will now have the opportunity to become a CPA with the bachelor's degree and 2 years of experience?
Thank you for that question, Jeannine. And I think that something Lexy said earlier about giving back to the profession, right? And when you think about growing this profession and you think about the satisfaction you get from being, as they said in Hamilton, being in the room when it happens, right? And having your thumbprint on that, having your fingerprint on it, having your voice heard, and being able to say, look what we did. Look what collectively we all did, right? And so when you think about that and giving back to the profession, I think what the signing of this bill does for us in this state is we have the ability to include folks who may not have been included before, right? So when you think about it from the perspective of inclusion of those that said, you know what, I can't spend the money to go to that fifth year and then become a CPA. I really need to work, right? There's some challenges that are going to come with that. But I think what we're doing is we're opening the door wider. And when you think about workforce development and solving the pipeline, we have all the things, the image, the culture that we have to change and create. But we have to have more people at the table. And if you don't have, you're going to talk about balance sheet bash in a minute. And something I said to the group yesterday was, this is a profession that takes all talents.
Yes.
And if you can't get all talents to the table, what are we missing out on, right? And so we have to find ways. And I applaud NPAG. And when that report came out and I heard y'all talk about it at Engage, I sat there and I looked at it and somebody said, well, what's the solution? I was like, there's no one solution. It takes multiple things. You hear me talk about cybersecurity all the time. There's never a silver bullet. You're never going to be 100% protected. You're never going to have that one thing that says this changes everything. You have to have a multitude of things. And this is a piece of that. This widens the door so we can get that talent to the table. And I think that's what, for me, as chair of the society this year, and kind of a meta moment for me sitting across the table from the chair of the association, it just means it takes everybody and it's a collection and everybody's passionate, right? And I think that that's really what it does and sets it apart. It's that inclusion of everybody with all of their talents. Would you agree with that?
It's spot on. Absolutely spot on. And to be able to broaden the horizon, because that's what we need in a global society, which is what we are, right? And to pull all those pieces together, I think, is really critically important. And I'm glad that you talk about it as workforce development, which is what it is, truly. And the other thing I think is very important as an outcome from all of this is that you really feel like the profession is unified and understanding that there are 6 themes. Now, there's more. There were just 6 themes we pulled out, but the profession is actually paying attention to that. And people are owning it now. And it's our own fault it got here. Let's be clear. So we can fix this. This is all doable. So it's exciting to see that pulling together and just the ideas, the things that different states are doing, which we're going to talk about what you guys are doing, which is incredible. It's heartwarming, honestly, to see it. It really is.
So one of our student events that we started 2 years ago, 2024 was our first year, under the leadership of Corey Ramsey at the time, now past chair of the AICPA. And we had this idea, and we had broken from an original idea, I should say, during the pandemic of just a diversity student conference. And we had this idea that we would create a student event, a diversity student event, and we would meet them where they are. And so we basically moved down the state into 3 cities where we have HBCUs in Alabama. And you are joining us today on day 3 of Balance Sheet Bash 2026 in Montgomery, Alabama. Our students participating are from Alabama State University, Auburn University Montgomery, and Tuskegee University. And I think we have a couple students from a 2-year program in Montgomery Trenum. Balance Sheet Bash is really an opportunity to show students, whether they are freshmen, sophomore, juniors, or seniors, everything they need to know about accounting as a profession, everything they need to know about being a professional, to be present where you are, to be prepared. They have the opportunity to network with sponsors and exhibitors who are here, who are actually looking for interns or even full-time hires. They've had those opportunities throughout the state. But you were able to speak and tell your story to our students today. We have, at some point, I think at the morning hour through your presentation, we had about 50 students on hand to
Yes.
be a part. They did have to break for some classes and whatnot. But this particular event, really all of our student events, we pour a lot into our student events. I can remember Barry Melanson asking me my very first year as CEO. He said, Jeannine, what resonates the most with you? And really not even thinking about my answer, I just said, well, it's all about the students. It's all about education and the future of the profession. He asked me why, and I told him why. But we have been invested in student programs for a long, long time. But this particular student event, Balance Sheet Bash, has just been so fun to be on campus and see students, dressed in their college gear and all the things, but to be so active in asking questions, being curious about not only the material that we're sharing, but about us. They wanted to meet you. They wanted to talk to you. They wanted to meet Rob. They wanted to talk to Rob. They wanted to meet me and Corey and everybody else in the room today. So you sat in on most sessions. So from your perspective, what do you think about Balance Sheet Bash?
I thought it was phenomenal. I mean, the topics were so spot on for the students, and I loved the personal brand and the stories about people in different roles within the profession, and to educate them, because I know this audience was not everybody has necessarily decided on accounting just yet, right?
That's right.
So just what is the profession about? But even more important than that, it was giving them a safe space to be able to be themselves.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's critical. And the safer that they feel that they belong, the more likely they are to step up, the more likely they are to become engaged.
Right.
And you could see it in the body language,
Mm-hmm.
which was just amazing to see. So you guys are doing a great job. I mean, it was really my pleasure to be here and to be a part of it. And anytime. I mean, this is I love this, and to see this is the future of our profession, and that's critical, and it's giving back to a profession that's been incredibly good to me, and I want it to be good for others.
I could not agree more. I tell you, every time we do a student event that I'm participating in, there's that one moment that kind of really reaches out and touches your heart. And I was walking out into the hallway, and a student said, Miss Birmingham, may I talk to you? And she came out to the hall and she said, I'm a little embarrassed to ask. I said, no, ask me anything. She said, would you be my mentor?
Oh,
And I thought, that's the nicest thing I've heard for a long time. Absolutely, I'll be your mentor. So, and all that said was that she wants a little bit more.
yes.
And I love to give a little bit more. So that's...
And she felt she was able to ask.
And I love that.
Right?
Yeah.
That was huge.
Yes.
Yes.
So the program's great. It's our third year. We always step back and evaluate and think about what we do in the future, but it's so wonderful and fun to have you be a part of an event like this in Alabama at the Alabama Society of CPA's office. So thank you for doing that. I know we're getting close to wrapping, but I wanted to pull it back and just ask, as chair of AICPA and the association, and I know Paul can totally relate to this question, but every year there are initiatives, there's goals, there are the things that you are really going to work on. Could you just spend a couple of minutes talking about some of those top initiatives for Lexy Kessler at the AICPA this year?
Sure. So I think for this year, because it was a transition year with the retirement of Barry Melanson, who was just, who is a pillar of our profession. and Mark Koziel coming in as CEO. And so part of that was really giving him some space because there was a lot of things, he's just getting his legs on the ground. He's done a phenomenal job with it too, by the way. And it was very important with a new CEO and coming out of INPAG to continue the message of INPAG, which was listening and connecting. And it really was going out and talking to people. And Mark did a great job with
He's done it so well.
Yes. Ask Mark, I think was the email at AICPA.com. And he's responded to all of those and definitely some themes. And then it was pulling together with John Graham, who's our co-chair. He's based out of the UK and working on what this project of Rise 2040. And it's taking a step back and saying, okay, a holistic view of what is our profession, what are our challenges, what are the trends that we need to be prepared for, what's influencing it. I know you're doing a session tomorrow to gather all of that input with the draft report coming in May at the May Council meeting. And what I don't want to lead anybody in any direction, but it is really incredible to say, regardless what country you're in, regardless what state you're in, regardless of your business industry or public accounting, there's a lot of commonality.
I bet.
That even with differences, we have so much in common. And to be able to pull our profession together to focus on those things together, I think will make us unstoppable. I really believe that.
Oh, you just used the phrase that I was going to close us with today. So
I can't. I'm sorry. We're like Fleetwood Mac. We're sharing a microphone here. I can't let you go without asking. I mean, you've been to the majority of the continents in the world, and now you've added another one, Alabama. So I kind of, I guess I would love to hear your feedback about your first. I don't know if this is your first day in Alabama.
It's
is
not
that
our
right?
first time.
It's not your first time here. Okay, well, good.
First time for work.
First time for work. Okay, well, so a little bit about your experience here, but what has been your favorite continent to travel to and just visit?
Oh.
And I heard you went to Antarctica. I mean, who goes to Antarctica? Apparently you do.
Lexi does.
Yeah. So one of my bucket lists is every continent, and I have two left, and those are Australia and Africa. And so far, I mean, Europe is great with its charm and the roots, and my roots are from there, so that works really well. Asia was fascinating just because culturally it's so different, just so different, and truly appreciating what it's like to not speak a language, not be able to figure it out. But Antarctica, I think, was one of my favorites. And the reason I say that was because it was a privilege to go to a place that human eyes don't get to see very often. And to see something that all countries respect, that land, at the moment, that land. And we are visitors there. We don't, like when we live here, we don't cohabitate. We really don't. There, we were the visitors, and it was respecting the land. It was respecting what was there. And I, to be clear, I am experienced Mother Nature, but in the most luxurious way possible. Okay, I am not a rough it girl. I'll go full disclosure on that. But just the pristine beauty of it, the quiet, just the simplicity of it in some ways, but yet not, and yet dangerous at the same time when a whale comes out of the water, right? And you're in this
That's amazing.
little boat thing. But to me, it was a privilege to be able to have had that experience and to be able to have had it with my kids. It was the year I was going through an illness and had gotten past that. And so it was really more of a bonding time for our family. So it had a lot of extra special meaning to it with the timing of it.
It's wonderful.
So,
it's wonderful. Well, Lexi, you are unstoppable. And I adore you, and I am so grateful for your time in Alabama. This is day one. We've got day two to come.
Yep.
So I know Rob is going to wrap us up, but thank you so much for being here.
Well, y'all have made me plumb emotional. Look, I'm still kind of new here, and y'all have been working on this project through your committee together through AICPA and the State Society and the State Board for years, and I get to jump in at the end and be a part of it, and it's been a great honor and a privilege to do. Well, I look, again, we were working with really good messaging, and that was really coming from what y'all do there. So a huge debt of gratitude to AICPA, and thank you for coming. For Lexy Kessler, chair of the AICPA, thank you again for being here, being a part of the podcast. That was Jeannine, of course, and then Paul Perry. Thank you for sitting in with us. And this is a great day. Thank you again, everyone. This has been the Alabama CPA Podcast.